Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Debbie. We are Tessie Pearl, a community for widows.
Today we're going to talk about the very delicate topic of loving deeply and grieving deeply. When you first meet that love of your life, those first few days, weeks, months can feel so exhilarating. They can feel like every emotion is heightened and that sense just comes over you of joy and happiness, and even the downwards when things don't go right and you feel sad and grumpy and angry, but the emotions feel so present. Think back to the time when you were just falling in love with your spouse, with the significant other, with your husband. Think about those moments. What did they feel like to you? So Debbie, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit. Tell us what it felt like in those first moments when you fell in love with your husband.
You know, there are some experiences you have in your life that it is just there. You remember it.
Yeah.
And that is one of meeting my husband for the first time was one of those experiences. I can picture the weather, what I was wearing, our conversation, and because it was so different from anybody else that I had met. And it was really fun. There was an excitement. We wanted to be together. It was a time in our lives where we did spend pretty much every evening together. And over the months that we got to know each other, it just deepened that. Mm-hmm. And so it was really, really fun.
Yeah, that's very similar to what I experienced. You can't get enough, mm-hmm. right? You just want to be right there with your person. And the emotions are so strong. And then that love deepens over time, and the commonality and the dreams are born, and you move through life together. But then when they die, those same emotions can become so heightened, but they're on the opposite end. The grief can feel so heavy. The exhilaration that you once felt in those early days now feels like an empty hole. And that can feel scary and bring up all sorts of emotions, from anger to guilt to resentment, even to relief if you were caring for that person for a long time and that burden has been lifted. There's so many emotions that cycle and circle through you, and they're all okay. But in order to feel them, you have had to have loved first in order to then feel that loss. You have a quote that you're going to share with us. Can you kind of describes what we're talking about?
This is a beautiful quote by Henri Nouwen. He is a Dutch priest and theologian. He says, every time we make the decision to love someone, we open ourselves to great suffering, because those we most love cause us not only great joy, but also great pain. The greatest pain comes from leaving. The pain of leaving can tear us apart. Still, if we want to avoid the suffering of leaving, we must never experience the joy of loving. And love is stronger than fear, life stronger than death, hope stronger than despair. We must have to trust that the risk of loving is always worth it. What do you think of that?
Well, I like how beautifully he describes the contrast in that love and the grief. For me, I think really for anyone, it's natural once we get in that moment to not want to feel the suffering. Mm-hmm. And really, a lot of people after a loved one dies feel numb. They don't feel anything. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Yeah. Like that's actually an emotion that your body is using to protect you from feeling the grief. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to sit with that and to acknowledge that, and slowly then to open up your heart and your mind and your body to feel the other emotions that will roll over you in waves. I had an experience in my own healing journey, not necessarily through grief of a loss of loved one, but through hardships in life where I did not want to feel pain. Mm-mm. And I numbed myself to anything and everything. And that numbing wasn't through a substance. Sometimes people use, alcohol or drugs to numb and not feel. But it was just more, I was going to put on this straight face, not feel pain and suffering because I've experienced too much and I don't want to experience anymore. But then what I noticed as time went on is I wasn't experiencing joy. Mm-mm. And that joy, I couldn't feel it. And when I observed that in myself, I realized I have to start opening myself up to feeling the pain. And so as a widow journeys through, in those beginning days and weeks, it's okay not to feel anything. But as time goes on, we have to slowly open ourselves up to feeling the pain in order to opening the door to heal. And once again, feel joy and the light that we're seeking.
Well, and oftentimes when you open yourself up to the emotion, you can feel several emotions all at the same time.
It can feel overwhelming.
And you'll go from anger and guilt back to the love, and that's okay, because you've got to feel the pain, because if you try to suppress it, that's not allowing the body to heal, as you discovered yourself. You want to be careful to dose the pain. You don't want to be so overwhelmed by that pain that you don't feel hope and the ability to move forward. So allowing yourself to have that pain and embrace the hurt is part of healing.
Yeah. In the somatic world, we call that pendulation. And that's, kind of just swinging back and forth, where you dip into the pain, you feel it for a little bit, and then you go back to a safe spot. So as the emotion comes over you, take time to slowly feel it. And if it is overwhelming, give yourself time to rest and know that you're human, and it's okay to feel emotionally, physically wiped out from the grief.
Now, some people like to journal, and you are one that is very good at expressing your emotions and feelings in journaling.
Yeah, they're emotional dumps. And I did this even in high school.
Do you go back and reread?
No, it's almost embarrassing. I don't want to read it, but maybe I should. I don't want to. But there are times for me just to vent and let it all out. And then the clarity comes. Then I can think straight, and I can go, okay, this is the path I want to move forward on, and make better executive decisions and kind of live more free. And it actually frees it in my system, my body. I just feel more free afterwards.
Because I've always wanted to be a journaler. Mine always end up being just a travelogue. That is not the way I express my emotion. In fact, it wasn't long ago I found a little diary that I got when I was really young. It gave you like little 3 lines to write. And the only thing I wrote in the whole diary was, I wore my red pants today. So that's as deep as I get in my journaling. So when I look at how I want to share my emotions and express, I do it more through music, singing, piano, movement, dancing. There's so many different ways. It doesn't have to be one way. So we all need to find our way that works for us.
And it's important to, when we're feeling the emotion, to name it, to sense where we feel it in our body, but then to sit with it. So some of these things like journaling, singing, dancing, those are ways we feel the emotion. It's also a way that we mourn, that we're actively mourning. But if we go back to the root of the emotion, it's important to just consciously acknowledge it, but not think our way through it. And what I mean by that is sometimes we can say, oh, I'm feeling anger, and I feel anger because of this, and this happened, and this happened. No, that's not sitting. No, you're not reasoning with the emotion. You're just allowing.
Angry.
You're allowing yourself to feel it. Now, I want to touch on anger a little bit. Anger is so valid when we're grieving. And it's important to express it in healthy ways and not to suppress it. So I think of when I teach a little toddler how to express it, go punch your pillow. Well, guess what? We can still be that little toddler that needs to go punch our pillow if we're really feeling angry. It's better to get it out than to hold it in.
Well, if any of this resonates with you, we invite you to join us on your grief journey. Feel free to share your comments below. We would love to hear from you. Your sharing helps other women going through this same thing. Share your emotions, how you are dealing with them, how you express them. We welcome you to share your journey. Check us out at tessiepearl.com. Look at our retreats as well as our mini course. And thanks for watching today.